This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I have got John Williams with me. You're the Executive Director of the Ontario Maple Syrup Producers Association. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, anytime.
You're all the way from your own location in Wybridge, Ontario?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Let's
We're,
let's talk a little bit about your own business going on there too, because this is a busy time of year for you.
yeah, so it's called Williams Farm, and we have about 3,400 taps that are on the edge of the Wye Marsh here, just south of Midland, Ontario. And we're a small commercial producer, so we produce up to about 5,000 liters of syrup ourselves every year. And then my other hat is being the executive director of the Association for Ontario.
Oh, you pleasantly surprised me because I figured we were going to connect today and you were in an office somewhere. So this is great. You're on location.
On location, exactly. Remote on location.
There you go. There you go. Now you are the executive director. What does that mean? What are your responsibilities, your mandate?
Well, the association has a mandate to promote Ontario maple, a vibrant community and industry in Ontario, and so my basically as the executive director, I help the board of directors execute their policies and what they're putting in place. I do the day to day, the nuts and bolts.
All right, all right. So now you recently you received you received some funding from the Ontario Maple Syrup Producers Association.
Actually, from OMAFRA, from the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture,
Okay.
Food Affairs. Yes, so that's what we are. We're the Ontario Maple Syrup Producers
Sorry, yes.
Association. Yeah, sorry, no problem. We call ourselves OMSPA. That's how we shorten it up to make it easier. So OMAFRA gave OMSPA $83,000 to help develop the maple sector in Ontario and for us to produce a new strategic plan going forward.
So what does that mean? What does that mean, that amount of money?
Oh, it's huge for us. We're a small, what they call commodity group, right? You have grains and beef and things like that. We call ourselves commodity groups, and we aren't a big associate. Like we have 600 members, but our resources aren't huge. Basically, we have me half time, and so to get that kind of money from the province allows us the time. We can hire help, people who specialize in this kind of thing. It also means we can take a really deep dive, if you can want to use that term. We've done strategic plans, several of them in the past before, obviously, and we usually do them for 5 years at a time. But this time we're really looking deeply at maple in general, and then how we can apply what's going on in other parts of the maple world to Ontario to create that healthy maple industry in Ontario moving forward.
Okay, and I look back historically, so much has changed. Like from tapping at a tree with a bucket to how many lines, how many trees have you got? You said
3,400 taps, yeah.
3,400, and it has changed so much.
Yeah, the biggest producer in Ontario now is running at about, I think they're between 130 and 150,000 taps, up around that range. So there are some very big operations, yeah.
And when we talk about operations too, there's a big variation. Like there's that huge one you were just talking about, which must be more like a business, I'm assuming, to people, there's local people who invite you to their farms, invite you to come in, and some people have restaurants.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And our membership is like that. We have everything from people that have 10 taps, and it's a fun thing for them, and or a family tradition, to do that, and all the way up to those very large operations. And so it can be anything from a hobby to something like me, where it's it's a significant part of my income, but it's not enough to be a full-time gig, right? It's kind of a half-time thing for me. And then you have those very large operations where you might need several people all year round, working away at it. And then you have a crew of 10 or 20 people during the season that are doing the work. So
And so
it's
much depends on the weather too.
yes, that is our biggest single factor. Everybody asks me this time of year, what do you think the season's going to be like? And we have a few things that can help point the way. It's always good to go into the season with some snow in the bush, because if we have warm weather, that helps keep things, keep the temperature down. But the biggest single factor for us is what the weather does during the season itself.
That's right. That's such a big factor to it makes a difference between being a hobby to being your business is the weather.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, for sure.
That's,
And a lot of us had a difficult time last year. We ourselves, we were down 40% because of the weather last year. A lot of people down 20%. Across North America, we were down about 20% last year. So
wow. Well, you know what? When people start talking about maple syrup, we know spring is in the air and the good weather is going to be coming too. So it's always nice to talk about too. You've got Ontario Maple Weekend, which is April 2nd and 3rd coming up as well.
Yes, correct. So that's the chance for people to get out into sugar bushes and sugar houses and, smell the syrup being boiled, taste some of this year's crop, and, take some home with you for the pancakes the next day. And these days we find people are using it in more and more things, right? You can use it in almost any place that you would use sugar. So but yeah, people want to go to mapleweekend.ca, mapleweekend.ca. That's where we have listings of our participants across the province. So we'll have about 10% of our members, about 60 operations will have their doors open across the province for people to come in and see. And everybody's a little bit different, so it's great to go on that website and see what they have going on. Like you say, some people have pancake houses, right? So they obviously going to offer something different to me. I'm in a converted barn here, so I can't have a pancake house, but we always, if we can, have the evaporator going, and you can come in and get a good smell of it and taste it as hot as it comes off the evaporator and things like that. So
you're able to welcome people into your barn?
Yeah, so we're planning to this year. We had to cancel it the last 3 seasons, but this year we're planning to be open, and away we go.
Excellent. Well, COVID too. That's been such a big factor, I'm sure, the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's hit our industry in a variety of ways. To be honest, for some people, it's been very good. People have wanted comfort food, right? So nothing more comforting than maple syrup on your pancakes or whatever. And so sales in Canada, and actually even worldwide, have been up about 20% per year the last 2 years. But it's been very hard for some of our members, like the pancake houses you're talking about, because they're like any other restaurant. They've had to have been shut down. So a lot of them had stock on hand to be ready for the season, sausages, pancakes, all kinds of things, and then had to pull the plug at the last minute, right? So they're sitting on all that stock. So it's been very difficult for those kinds of operations. But for ourselves, we've been very lucky. We've been fine. So.
All right. Now, I've talked to people who, have their own production places like yourself. Are you able to predict? I like to talk to people. Predict when do you think it's all going to start?
We're a little more than half tapped right now.
So it's already started flowing?
It takes us about 10 days to tap. So we can't, because of the number of taps we have, right? So we can't just kind of wait until a few days before the weather looks good. We have to be preparing ahead of time. So there's been a little bit trickling in, nothing major. But about a week, we're going to cool off here for the next 5-6 days. And then it looks like next week we may have a bit of a run. We'll just have to see how the weather goes, because it's very sensitive, right? If we get just above zero and we have a nice sunny still day, then boom, it could happen. But if it stays just above zero and it's cloudy with a cool wind, nothing will happen. So it's we don't really know until it starts to go.
All right. Now, I've also spoke to other people too, and they sometimes have trouble with the little critters eating the lines. Have you got trouble with that?
For sure, yeah. We probably replace, I don't know, between 2 and 5% of our tubing, and probably closer to 10% of the little lines that go right into the tree because of those critters every year. Yeah. So I have one of my employees is out in the bush right now fixing those things before we tap.
Oh,
So.
awesome, awesome. I mean, when you go from tapping one tree with a bucket on it to all this, it just it makes life so much easier, but there's still a lot of work maintaining.
Yeah, when you have buckets, it's there's more work during the season, right? Because you have to go and collect all that sap. We tend to have more of our work up front, right now, and all the preparation and making sure those lines are ready to go, and then it's a little easier to collect during the season. So.
Yeah. It's nice to see some people doing it the old-fashioned way, but my goodness, it's so much more efficient this way.
Yeah, it is, and maybe 10 years from now, you give me a call, and I'll be back to that. I'll be ready to. I'll be semi-retired, and I'll just have those nice little buckets to collect and sit and enjoy it.
There you go. There you go. So when do you have to start getting ready? Like, obviously, you've been knee-deep into it already.
Well, to be honest, it kind of goes all year round. We're always bottling. We store our maple syrup into big stainless steel barrels, hot, as it comes off our evaporator here behind me. And then once or twice a month, we're bottling it, taking it out of there, heating it up, filtering it, and putting it in bottles for our customers. So we actually go year round. This is the intense part is kind of February, March, and April. That's when it's really intense, those 3 months. So.
All right. And how much sap does it take to make maple syrup? Because that in itself, it's amazing.
Yeah, the traditional quote is 40 liters of sap to make 1 liter of syrup. But one thing we're finding with climate change is that the stress on the trees is actually reducing the sugar content. So we're probably starting to get closer to 50 to 1 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, how do people get a hold of you, John, if they'd like to get more information?
If they're looking for information on the association, we have a listing of our members, and we have recipes and all kinds of other things about maple at ontariomaple.com. So they can search there. If you need to contact me directly at the association, it's admin@ontariomaple.com is the address. And then just look up williamsfarm.ca if you want to see our personal operation.
All right. And you are in Wybridge, Ontario. I can tell it's a bit chilly there because I can see your breath.
Yeah, it's and it's cold in the barn here. So we're just, a little below zero this morning. So.
Oh, okay, so you're actually in the barn. You're not outside. I figured you were at the door or something like that. I could see your breath.
No, I'm inside. Yeah, it's not heated. So.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, not until the evaporators get fired up.
It's going exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, are they wood burn evaporators, or are they?
Yeah, I've got my phone sitting on a pile of wood that's right across from the evaporator. But yeah, I don't know if you can see it. There's a big door here that opens up.
Wow.
And then the wood goes in there, and we put about half a wheelbarrow full of wood every 7 minutes in there to keep that boiling away.
Wow.
And we can make about up to 100 liters an hour of syrup on that when we're boiling. So.
Wow. Amazing.